Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Ironbark Podcast. I am your host, Epion, and today we're going to talk about something crazy, something unusual, something spectacular. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit of a news article, and I want to just freeball on it a little bit here. It comes from an article in New Scientist. The article is by Taylor Mitchell Brown. Never heard of him. Sounds like a nice guy. Probably not. Melting ice reveals millennia-old forest buried in the Rocky Mountains. Trees dating back almost 6,000 years have come to scientists' attention due to ice melting in the Rocky Mountains, offering a time capsule into the past. A 5,900-year-old white bark pine forest has been discovered due to melting alpine ice in the Rocky Mountains. Scientists found more than 30 trees, approximately 3,100 meters above sea level, 180 meters higher than the present tree line, while carrying out an archaeological survey on the Beartooth Plateau in Wyoming. This offers us a window into the past conditions at high elevations. White bark pine don't grow at this elevation now. So these ones had to have grown at a time when the climate was warmer. That's about the gist of the article. That's about the entire gist of the article. It goes on quite a bit more to talk about climate change. You've heard that plenty, haven't you? It goes on to basically turn into a climate change piece. Whatever. That's boring. We're going to talk about, that's a fucking frozen forest. It's a forest. We've discovered an entirely new forest that we've never seen before. I think that's cool. So when you look at the pictures on the internet, it looks pretty dope. Looks pretty cool. I kind of want to go explore it a little bit. I kind of want to go check it out. I want to see what this, thousands-year-old forest look like. It looks like a bunch of driftwood sitting on like a mountainside. It looks like anything else you would find just on the side of a riverbank or whatever, or at the bottom of a lake. It's kind of cool. But it's interesting. Like I bet like rich folk like looked at that and they were like, that'd make a cool table. That'd be some nice wood to have as a couch. Don't you think, Frank? Huh? Don't you want to go out and get your wife a nice, rare millennia-old wooden table? Would that kill you to be nice for a holiday vacation home, Frank? I don't know. Might be a good thing. Might be cool to make a cane out of it. Though I don't think you can actually gather wood and natural stuff from the national parks and stuff like that because it's protected. It's protection. Cannot use. No use, no take, only touch. Only look, no take. It drives the dogs wild. They just want to take that stick and run. And that's what dogs are meant to do, was to take sticks and run. You just got to let the dogs do what the dogs are going to do. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. It'd be cool to go up there and see if there's anything else to be found. Like, I don't really know what you could pull from driftwood. Maybe some markings. You could kind of see maybe what kind of bugs were burrowing in it maybe at the time. I think one of the things it didn't speculate on, it said, the earth must have been much warmer at the time. Well, what if the plateau itself was much lower? Now, I know there's probably some good geology to support that it wasn't, because that mountain range has existed for whatever period of time. But the mountains have grown over a period of time. They grow a little bit each year, actually, but that growth is stunted by the amount of erosion that also happens on them. Sadly, eventually they will stop growing entirely and only erosion will happen and the mountains will disappear. Many such cases. It's sad, but it's the only way that we can make Mountain Dew, and it's so delicious that I never want it to stop. I Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool, and I think as glaciers melt and thaw away, we're going to see a lot other cool things as well. I mean, you see the permafrost they unearth, like the woolly mammoth, the rhinos, the giant sloths. Um, and it like gives us opportunities to like extract DNA specimens from them, kind of study them, create parallels, and see the differences between existing species and the species back then. It's quite interesting. There was like maybe four different species of like elephant or elephant like creatures, megafauna that roam North America, and they're all gone. Like not a single one is surviving. It's kind of interesting to think about, and how they're still sort of like their distant relatives are also like in other parts of the world, India and Africa. But like we had rhinos. I don't know. Was there a hippo? I don't know if there was a hippo. It's interesting that it's interesting. It's interesting, dude. I always think about it. It's like how come they're not here anymore, but they're still somewhere else. I think this place really got fucking totaled by those glaciers, though. I think North America specifically got like smashed. It got smashed by that glacier. Got wreckaroonied. It got steamrolled. And I have a lot of debate with my friends. I say, I personally think the Earth, because this isn't, okay, full disclosure, this isn't fully scientific. It's just a bunch of nonsense I think of. Take it with a grain of salt. So, because the Earth sits in a Goldilocks zone, I believe that Earth, in its natural, uninhibited, unimpacted state of like a natural disaster, like a meteorite impact or like a super volcano or anything like that, that it will naturally not have polar ice caps, and that the world will be entirely liquid water. And I think that because you look at some of the data records back in Earth's history and you see that it's been a lot warmer, there's been periods of time on Earth where they haven't had ice caps. And some studies show that for the majority of Earth's lifespan, it hasn't had polar ice caps. Though for a lot of it has as well. And it kind of goes in and out of these phases. It's interesting to think about. It's kind of sad to think about because that means, because it's such a long period of time between having ice caps and not having ice caps, that animals will adapt and evolve to these ice caps. Polar bears, for example, and anything pretty much in the Arctic region. And then if these ice caps melt faster than how they formed, or I guess how they formed isn't really. It's if they melt faster than the animals can adapt, and the animals will go extinct. But technically the animals will go extinct anyway, because if they adapt into a new species, the species they used to be will no longer exist. Kind of like a weird kind of thing to think about, isn't it? That like it's like a species could evolve itself out of existence. Isn't that kind of weird? Like imagine all the polar bears sort of like moves south out of the Arctic Circle, or the Arctic Circle shrinks because it's no longer like frigid and it's no longer like Arctic temperatures or whatever. And then those bears sort of start hybridizing with like brown bears, perhaps black bears. And then you have like these like half polar, half black bears, half grizzly bear or whatever. Or you just have like sort of like, because these black bear have sort of expanded into new territory and developed new hunting behaviors and seek new kind of like foraging behaviors. Or maybe because now the Arctic region is warmer, now that there's berries and other plant life now able to inhibit it, that they're able to forage more for like non-meats or vegetables, or not vegetables, what am I thinking, like plants and flora. And because it does that, it may actually, to some extent, alter its genetic genome. It'll like turn on certain mitochondria switches. I don't know if that's even accurate what I'm saying, but now you could probably designate that. You could differentiate it enough genetically to be like, oh, this is a subspecies of polar bear. This is like the southern polar bear. And then it's no longer a traditional polar bear. But it is. It just sort of like adapted. Interesting to think about. I wonder what that's called. There's got to be a name for it, where a species adapts its way into extinction, out of extinction into like a. weird to think about because everyone wants everything to stay static all the time, but they don't realize maybe that adaptation is actually the species' form of survival, but then it leaves behind the old species that it used to be because it's taken on a new form. Quite introdasting. Like, what if we found like a perfectly preserved Neanderthal? Wouldn't that be wild? Or Gigantopithecus? If we found Gigantopithecus and it looked just like Bigfoot, it'd be like Bigfoot confirmed. Like, I kind of hope we find something like that. The ice melting potentially yields some grand mysteries to be solved. And some stuff like that would be like some of it, right? Like, a lot of people, like, they panic about it, like, oh, it's all melting, it's like there's almost like a lot of history to uncover there. It's vastly interesting. It's incredible. I think, like, people talk about, oh, what's under Antarctica? Like, man, there's might be some crazy fossils. There might be some fucking crazy structures. Who fucking knows? And if they ever uncover anything, it'd be fucking amazeballs, right? Everyone would be down to learn about that. Oh, I got like one last little sip of tea left. I don't really got a big episode for you guys today. I just kind of wanted to talk about that. I wanted to spitball a bit about it. Talk about the melting ice caps. Not a whole lot to talk about. What can I talk about? Oh, the fully moon. I should probably save this for like Sunday's podcast. But anyway, it was the Wolf Moon last night. It's the first full moon of the year. It's the biggest. No, it's not the biggest. But Mars was actually the closest it is to Earth every 2 years. It's close to Earth, and now is the time. And it happened to be beside the moon on the full day of night of the full moon. And I got some pretty cool shots that I threw them up on X there. And in the replies, I replied some better photos or different variants of the same photos, kind of like where they're brighter or whatever, less bright, more bright, a little less topographical, if that's a word. I think it's pretty interesting. I don't know, it's cool. Some of them you can see them like really bright. It's like, oh, there's Mars, there's the moon, just seen from Earth. It's pretty dope. Got some videos. I think instead of Wildlife Wednesday, it's going to be Wolf Moon Wednesday. Ooh, still starts with a W. I've set up oh my god, I need a cough button. I set up a trail cam in my backyard. I don't know if it's yielded any footage. It's been pretty cold. It is winter, but it's been a forgiving winter because it's not been that cold. I'm hoping that I've captured some footage of deer. I've seen some tracks, but I don't know if it's walked in front of the camera at a good angle. I think I set it to video as well. I don't know which day of the week I'm going to post that stuff. I'm thinking that might be like a backyard cam Fridays or Thursdays or something, right? I feel like you can only post it like once a week because I don't think it would create enough content to really do it, or a compelling content to really be like a multi. Maybe I could do a multi-day if it got like a lot of traction. Certain seasons might do better than others. Yeah, I hope I see a moose. I saw a moose just in the neighborhood the other day, just like walking down the street. I was like, oh, it was a fucking moose. It's a little female. Kind of cool. Yeah. I wonder if we get elk around here. I haven't seen one, but I think we do. Yeah, so that's some news for the content. We're going to get some trail cam uploads from the backyard. Lots of tracks in the winter, at least earlier this winter. Now it seems to die down a bit. Of course, after I put up a cam, right? So we're going to do weekly uploads from the trail cam. The podcast is obviously weekly. This week we're getting more because of the LA Fire Emergency podcast. And then, I don't know, Wildlife Wednesday has been kind of like my new footage. I'm not succeeding very well. It's very difficult to find the animals. The animals they're not out and about as much in the wintertime. It's very hard to find them sometimes. I went looking for otters. I went looking for mountain lions. Couldn't find much of anything. Sadly, many such cases. I guess I should pull up the X content creation that I've been making recently. I usually talk about that on the podcast, right? Oh, I got 18 notifications. What the hell? It's probably from Spaces earlier. Okay, profile. What do we got? Got the big old coyote video for Wildlife Wednesday. That's a re-upload. I'm cheating. More uploads. I'm being found out. Yep, the Wolf Moon picture. An old upload of another full moon picture. I like that one. I could put like the Moonlight Sonata in there. It's a very good video. Just went for a walk looking for those otters and that mountain lion. It was like freezing rain and snowing. People liked it. That's all right. January 10th was National Save an Eagle Day. You know, they're at risk. We gotta help the eagles. Pesticides and poaching. So it's always good to report a poacher. Try to avoid using pesticides when you can. And that brings us to the LA Emergency Podcast. Some people liked it. A couple reshares. Wow, it got a lot more reach than I thought it did. But nobody likes it, eh? Nobody likes that kind of stuff. No one likes the podcast, really. I don't blame them. It's a still image. I don't use video. Maybe I will eventually, but not in the foreseeable future because I like the audio aspect. It's for like the car commutes. It's for that kind of stuff. I don't really think of it as like somewhere where someone sits down and watches something. That seems like too demanding. I like it better. I like the podcast as an idea where someone can throw it on in the background on like, Alexa, play the Iron Bark podcast. Google, play the Iron Bark podcast. Sorry if I just screwed you over, but we're going to go with that. So what did I post on January 8th? Oh, God. I'm cringing at myself. As an environmental nature creator on this platform, fire breaks are absolutely necessary and benefit the environment as well as human occupied area. This is basically me doing the emergency podcast. This is a written form of the podcast. I was quoting one of Elon's posts. I felt like I could kind of use that as a way to tie into my own content, which it does. It involves nature, forest fires. But if this was arson, it's not really nature, is it? And there's speculation that it might be. They saw homeless people with torches. I don't know. Maybe it was a combination of both. We don't know. Maybe they made it worse. Maybe it was natural and some people just added fuel to the fire. We don't know. January 8th, National Snuggle a Chicken Day. Hope you were snuggling those chickens. Are cool. Got some nice comments about people like, snuggling back and forth from the barn because some chickens get picked on and stuff like that. I think that was Mars. Shout out to Mars. Follow Mars. She's an excellent content creator. Yeah. Sometimes the chickens are usually little savages. They're pretty ferocious. They're unforgiving. They'll eat like just about anything. But sometimes, for whatever reason, I guess they imprint on people and they could be quite affectionate somehow. But they'll probably eat you if they get the chance, nonetheless. January 7th, it was a beautiful day. It was a very boring day. It was a rocking day. Rocky. Hey, everyone. January 7th, Old Rock Day. I thought this was kind of cool. Maybe I can talk about this for a bit. So, you ever notice when you're a kid, you're very inclined to search for rocks, dig in the dirt. Like the kids go to the beach and they want to dig a giant hole. Like they just love it. I think this is ingrained in our DNA, and I think it's ingrained in human DNA because it was a way of just like looking for resources. It was like, yeah, we got to find a certain rock, a certain metal. It'll help us forge weapons or cutters or stonehead arrows, that sort of thing. And I think we've done it for so long in human history that now kids today just have an inclination to look for cool looking rocks because it's a useful thing. It's the one thing children could help their family with because they couldn't hunt. Maybe they could forage a little bit, but they'd probably be eating more than they'd be foraging. But one thing they could do as youngsters is like maybe they can find useful looking rocks, because you can probably teach a kid this is what the cool rocks we look like, and we want you to find those, and then they feel like they're doing something good and they're rewarded. And maybe it's just like a soft gray rock or like a black stone or something, and those are the ones that are like really good for making arrowheads or spear tips. And then the kids are like, they feel like they're helping their family and stuff like that. That might be what it comes from. That might be, I think so. It's like a resource gathering thing just ingrained in us. Eventually, the study of rocks led to metals as well as gunpowder. We are ever connected to this hunk of rock floating through space. It's our biosphere after all. And it's cool because, like, we've made stone tools essential for early humans, including spearheads, arrowheads, knife blades, cutters, and slingshots. Like, we even sling rocks to kill things, right? Hit birds. It's interesting. The study of rocks was first introduced by ancient Greeks by the name Theophrastus in his work Perilithon on stones, which became the cornerstone, you see what I did there, of geology. I do think it's imprinted in our DNA. I posted a little dash cam footage of some bighorn sheepies. See their white little butts. Yeah, and that brings us back to last week's episode. That's everything. What are these notes? These notifications, it's a combination of things. I'm not used to getting, it's mostly the space. Da 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 da. That brings us to the end, my friends. I thought I wasn't recording and I almost had a heart attack, but I am. This is the end of the podcast. There's the end of the podcast. This is the end of the podcast. This is the end of the podcast. This is the last episode I will ever be recording. This is the end of the line, folks. This is where I bring it to a complete stop. It's been a good run. We've gone 73 episodes. Almost made it to 100. Unfortunately, we're not going to do it. And the reason why I'm ending the podcast is, well, I'm just kidding. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay. I'm here to stay, motherfuckers. Ah!